Hey guys, welcome to Solo ReacTalk. Today I'm going to be reacting to The Road to the Holocaust, Kristallnacht. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Between Two Wars, 1938, Part 3 or 4 by TimeGhost History. Yes, guys, if you want to check out my previous reactions to other TimeGhost History Between Two Wars videos, remember the playlist card is going to be at the top. Just click on it and be able to access them. If you want to check out the original video as well as TimeGhost History's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. Okay, let's start. 3, 2, 1, go.
On the night of November 9th, 1938, all over Germany, ordinary citizens will look on as thugs smash and loot the homes, businesses, and temples of people they once considered neighbors. Police and firefighters stand by only to ensure the Aryan population remains safe. It is a night that will become known as Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. No one may grasp it at the time, but this event confirms for good the end of Jewish life in Hitler's Germany. Welcome to Between Two Wars, a chronological summary of the interwar years, covering all facets of life, the uncertainty, hedonism, and euphoria, and ultimately humanity's descent into the darkness of the Second World War. I'm Indy Nidell. Right before I get started, I want to make clear that though the Nazis love to raise the Jewish question, it is pure fantasy. While they are concentrated in certain urban areas, the 1933 German National Census shows that Jews make up less than 1% of the country's 67 million population.
Yes, it was a total dream world, La La Land, where they created this enemy, you know. This enemy didn't exist. It never existed at all. They created this boogeyman. They created this enemy. And, you know, a lot of people's lives were affected because of this propaganda, because of this, disinformation, pushing things that are not true to become reality in the minds of other people.
Barely more than 500,000. And though they are overrepresented in certain professions requiring higher education, there is no concentration of wealth and power in their hands. By every definition, they are ordinary Germans who are no more capitalist, communist, powerful, or scheming as their Gentile countrymen. Okay. When we looked at Hitler's consolidation of power in 1933 and 1934, we saw how German Jews immediately faced a wave of persecution. It began with spontaneous anti-Semitic violence from SA troops. Despite not being ordered by the party, these acts were quietly approved and no doubt executed in the hope of fulfilling the anti-Semitic dreams expressed by Adolf Hitler. After this, more official actions took place. Now, Hitler and his Minister of Propaganda, Joseph Goebbels, approved and organized a nationwide boycott of Jewish shops. The first batch of anti-Semitic legislation soon followed. The Law for the Protection of a Professional Civil Service and its Aryan paragraph ordered the dismissal of all Jews, defined as anyone with at least one Jewish grandparent.
Wait a minute. Let's see this. Okay, so wow. No, sorry guys, I'm just looking at this diagram here, if your great parent was a Jew and your father is a Jew and your mother is not a Jew, then you'll still be classified as a Jew. Okay.
From government positions. Other professions were then targeted, and Jews were banned from taking the bar or practicing medicine through state insurance programs. This pattern will continue in the next few years. Extreme bouts of violence and propaganda, engineered by the party, followed by sweeping legislation in what historians like Ian Kershaw will call the dialectic of radicalization. With each new wave, the momentum just keeps building and building and building. But as 1933 moves into 1934, an uneasy calm has set in for the time being. Now, this does not mean things are easy for Jews. Boycotts are frequent, and Jews still find themselves subject to petty acts of discrimination from regional authorities. Instances of outright violence are also known to occur, and there is clearly an undercurrent of radical anti-Semitism waiting to explode. But without some sort of official green light, imagined or otherwise, the violence does not become endemic. And Hitler is playing it safe for now. He is conscious of the delicate international situation, and ratcheting up official anti-Semitism will just anger foreign powers.
When doing something like this, you don't want the pot to overcook. You don't want the contents of what you're creating to explode in your face. You take your time. You make it slow cook on the flame, just when it's right, and then you use it, or then you devour it. So he's just taking his time. He's just being patient. He's just making sure that they still have this international perception that no, all Germans are happy. All Germans have this manifested destiny. All Germans are this superior race, when we know for a fact that the societies there is divided. There is a section of the society that is ridiculed, that is hated, that is vilified. And, he doesn't want the rest of the world to know about that just yet. It will only be known when it's already too late to do anything about it. Only at the end of World War II will, the atrocities of what was done in that country, be shown to everybody.
Economic concerns are also at play. Boycotts and instability just when Germany is recovering from the Great Depression will only make the situation worse. Finally, public opinion is not yet entirely meaningless in the Third Reich. The Aryan population might not be Judeophiles, but nor are they foaming at the mouth anti-Semites, and rushing forward with harsh measures will likely alienate many of them. All this means that Hitler is careful not to make any official pronouncements on the Jewish question. Newspapers, especially Julius Streicher's Der Stürmer, still churn out anti-Semitic sensation, of course, but since they are not official organs of the party, the regime can keep up a kind of plausible deniability. But the aloofness will not last for long. Hitler's power will soon reach new heights, which means anti-Semitic policy can enter a new phase. Now, we've looked at this in other videos in this series, but basically the Night of the Long Knives in June 1934 and the death of President Hindenburg in August remove all political challenges to Hitler's power. 1935 then sees his popularity skyrocket. In January, the Saar Basin, a territory under the authority of the League of Nations, votes to be reunited with Germany, and open rearmament is announced in March. The Allies' failure to do anything about this only adds to Hitler's prestige. Small state measures signal that it is time for further persecution. In February, the Gestapo banned Jews from raising the Nazi flag, and in May, they are barred from military service. Local leaders and the party press also fan the flames. One particularly hot issue is race defilement, sexual relations between Jews and non-Jews.
Race defilement. Hey, yeah, this video, I'm really going to be a bit ticked off, honestly. Hearing all these words being used. It's not you, Indian Idol. It's not you. Don't worry. It's just the way people are going to justify themselves. In terms of incarcerating people and killing people.
Official Nazi newspaper in Cologne calls for male Jewish race defilers to be castrated. And in April, the SS newspaper, Das Schwarze Korps, demands that even Aryans should face 15 years imprisonment for such a crime. It is clear which way the wind is blowing. Radicals take the initiative, and a wave of anti-Semitic persecution breaks out across Germany in the spring and summer. Jews are assaulted on the streets, and their businesses are vandalized and destroyed. They are banned from public spaces like like swimming pools, or they're driven out by angry mobs. Cemeteries and synagogues are desecrated, and signs spring up on roadsides reading, "Jews unwanted." The race defilers face particularly harsh humiliation. In July, a woman is forced to walk through the streets of Hamburg wearing a placard stating, "I am the biggest sow in town, and never on the Jew boys frown." Nazi leadership openly distanced themselves from the outrage they have manufactured. At the end of May, after serious anti-Semitic violence in Munich, SS leader Heinrich Himmler and Deputy Führer Rudolf Hess both make declarations against individual operations. Goebbels is the most calculating in all of this. On July 15th, in his Berlin newspaper, he calls for Germans to take physical measures against anyone disrupting the screening of an anti-Semitic film that day. That same evening, there are riots on the Kurfürstendamm, the most famous avenue in the city. Activists force their way into restaurants and drive out Jewish customers with screams of "destruction to Jews." With more confrontations with police, the event attracts international attention. Goebbels swiftly issues an order condemning the acts of violence he himself has just engineered. But the Nazi top dogs realize that such rabid violence is offensive to the sensibilities of ordinary Germans. The Nazification of public life makes popular opinion challenging to gauge, but we can catch some glimpses. Nazi agencies regularly produce reports on the mood and bearing of the people, and many ordinary Germans are sick of outright thuggery. By now, many accept anti-Semitism in principle, but some staunchly Catholic regions express distaste at the open violence. Areas in Bavaria also report economic anxieties over how it could hurt tourism. In fact, economic practicalities often take precedence over ideological commitment. And to the chagrin of Nazi authorities, ordinary Germans and even some uniformed party members continue to trade with Jewish shopkeepers or cattle dealers.
I see them, in the future trying to slowly dismantle that. They will slowly dismantle that with policy, with the people on the ground, with political rhetoric. Slowly but surely they will dismantle that. And the Jewish community within those cities or towns or villages, where the people, are still supporting them mainly because of economic benefit, that will be upended. And they will have no other sort of protection that the community can provide. Because even the communities in those towns and those cities and those villages, I don't know what I want them to. I don't know what I would have wanted them to do. Maybe I would have wanted them to fight against these people who keep telling them that Jews are evil and there are these money hawkers and all these bad things that they say about them. I would have wished that there were more Germans who would fight against something like that at that time. I would have wished, but it just seems that the government of the day really knew how to press the buttons on their people, to twist the knobs of their people, and they understood their people 100%. They understood the German people 100%. So the German government slowly but surely is going to upend all of this and take away this kind of safety net that the Jewish communities have in those towns or cities or villages, and they'll be taken away to the concentration camps.
Hitler seems to realize that the population are balking at the worst excesses of anti-Semitic persecution. On August 9, 1935, a circular from the office of the Deputy Führer is sent around stating that Hitler is explicitly banning individual actions. It is clear to the Nazi leadership that their anti-Semitism has to be further enshrined in actual law rather than put in the hands of thugs. They seized their chance to do so in September 1935 at the Nuremberg Party Congress. The annual rallies at Nuremberg are a staple fixture of the Third Reich. awe-inspiring scenes of uniformed troops, adoring crowds, party regalia, dramatic music, and cries of Sieg Heil are the perfect propaganda opportunity. But this one is set to be a little different. The Reichstag, by now a purely ceremonial body, will be called to Nuremberg to pass the Reich flag law, making the swastika the official national flag. But at some point, the supposedly spontaneous decision is made that anti-Jewish legislation will also be pushed forward. Hitler addresses the Reichstag on September 15th, informing them that the German Reich government is guided by the hope of possibly being able to bring about, by means of singular momentous measure, a framework within which the German folk would be in a position to establish tolerable relations with the Jewish people. He is talking about just two laws. First, the citizenship law establishes that a German citizen must have German or kindred blood to have full political and civil rights, and declares everyone else as subjects who are now deprived of such rights. Second, the law for the defense of German blood and honor prohibits marriage and all sexual relations between Jews and Aryans.
You see, these are the type of things that I wish that the German people of that time would have fought against, you know. But as I said before, slowly but surely, you know, they're going to use all forms of government institutions, political rhetoric, and you know, the people on the ground. They're going to use all of these tools in their endeavor to completely disenfranchise the Jewish population within their country. Yeah.
The law also bans German women under the age of 45 from working in Jewish households and prohibits Jews from displaying national colors. And that's it. Jews are now legally not German, but more of a national minority. The question remains, though, who is a Jew? The first supplementary decree of the Reich citizenship law is passed in November 1935. It defines a Jew as anyone descended from at least 3 Jewish grandparents. Someone with 2 Jewish grandparents who associates with the religious community, is married to another Jew, or is the child of a relationship with a Jew after the Nuremberg laws is also a Jew. If a person has 2 Jewish grandparents but has not made these choices, they are Mischling, mixed blood, as is a person with 1 Jewish grandparent.
Are you telling me that their family members have records about the religions that their great grandparents were following, and you know, their grandparents were following, and then all the way down to their parents and then themselves? Like, I mean, I don't even know what my grandfather followed as a religion, or my great grandparent, you know, what he or she followed as a religion. I don't know. I have no clue. On my mother's side, on my father's side, I don't know what religion they were following, you know. And now here, people are just going to make these things up. And then, yeah. I'm a loss for words, guys. I'm sorry.
After these laws are passed, another uneasy calm sets in. Most Germans hope that it means an end to the mob violence, and many believe that with the boundary drawn between Germans and Jews, things will finally be stabilized. The anti-Jewish propaganda that's been pumped out for years may not have made every German burn with anti-Semitism, but it has made most of them believe that there is a Jewish question, and that this is now solved. Many Jews even feel the same way. Nuremberg has at least imposed a framework of what Jewish life can and cannot be. Most Jews hope to weather the storm, but the idea of emigration is now growing steadily. This is actually the aim of the Nazi Party at this point, and with all significant German Jewish organizations accepting it as reality, well, it looks like it might be realized. So there's now a lull in anti-Semitic agitation and legislation. The 1936 Olympic Games are approaching, and the eyes of the world are focused on Germany. If you saw our video on those games, you'll know Hitler used it as a propaganda tool to present his Reich as an ordered and content nation. In fact, when Wilhelm Gustloff, founder of the Swiss Nazi Party, is assassinated in February 1936 by David Frankfurter, a Jew angered at Gustloff's anti-Semitism, strict orders are given that no anti-Jewish action takes place. None do. But once the games are over, the heat is once again turned up. Hitler and other top Nazi officials have been planning ways to exclude Jews from the economy altogether. The aim is to pressure them to emigrate and leave most of their wealth behind. But unlike the legislative drama at Nuremberg, more subtle methods are adopted. Laws are passed in December 1936, promising the death penalty for anyone, meaning Jews, suspected of economic sabotage. The boycott campaign is once again ramped up to force Jewish business owners to sell their firms. In the summer of
Economic sabotage in what way? Hey.
1937, the Gestapo undertake a massive operation across the entire country to eliminate Jewish cattle dealers, with any farmer trading with them arrested. The 1937 Nuremberg rally sees the radicalization process pushed even further. Hitler and Goebbels both offer anti-Semitic tirades. Goebbels is the most manic, declaring Jews to be the incarnation of evil, the ferment of decomposition, the visible demon of the decay of humanity. The propaganda machine is kicking into overdrive. On November 8th, the Eternal Jew exhibition is held in Munich, where visitors are confronted with anti-Semitic caricatures, slogans, and stories. The first months of 1938 introduced new discriminatory measures. Jews must hand in their passports, and authorities are given the power to revoke name changes. And then on March the 12th, Germany annexes Austria. We'll have a video on how this all happened, but it is a disaster for Austrian Jews, and the persecution they face surpasses anything experienced so far. Public humiliation at the hands of the SA takes on sadistic proportions. Jewish men and women are pulled off the streets and forced to clean barrack latrines or pavements with their bare hands. Homes and businesses are looted, and high-powered businessmen are hunted down. In one instance, SA men kidnap Frank Rothenberg, board chairman of a leading Austrian bank, and throw him out of a moving car, killing him. Jewish property is Aryanized so rapidly that in just a few months, 50% of the individual businesses and 82% of commercial services owned by Jews in Vienna alone are taken over. Knowing that it can affect popular opinion, the Nazi leadership tried to stem the tide of Nazi violence, but the savagery has proved successful. Jews in Austria are now virtually eliminated from the economy and are emigrating en masse. Within the 5 months of the annexation, 46,000 Jews flee. No doubt, seeing this unfold, a new wave of legislation is pushed forward. In April, all Jews are ordered to register their property, and in July, all commercial services, such as credit information and real estate brokerage, are forbidden. In August, a particularly humiliating decree is put forward where Jews are required to add Israel or Sarah to their names if they don't already sound Jewish enough. The measures are accompanied by a wave of violence and terror. There are riots in cities across Germany, and Jews are deported to concentration camps. It is all intended to drive the process of Jewish emigration, an ever-heightening priority for the regime as possible war looms on the horizon. The Nazis want to be rid of their internal enemy, and they also need Jewish assets to help fund a war effort.
But these assets they're talking about, it is peanuts. It's nothing. You know, you're taking away people's family heirlooms, or, you know, a small little coffee shop or a barber shop, or a private practice as a doctor or a lawyer. What money is there that will be funding your military conquest on Europe? the logic behind all of this is just, it's not there. It doesn't, they're trying to square a circle, if I can say it like that. They're trying to square a circle, and it's not possible.
But they also know that the Polish government, for example, is planning to block Jews with Polish nationality from being sent to Poland. To preempt this, on October 27th, the police round up 18,000 Polish Jews from their homes with no advance warning, pack them into sealed train cars. They are taken to the Polish border and simply dumped there. Refused entry by the Polish border guards, they camp out in no man's land between the two countries.
This reminds me of what's happening right now with Myanmar and its expulsion of the Muslim communities in their country. And now they're stuck between the border of Bangladesh and Myanmar. I forgot what that little no man's land is called again. I can't remember. But yeah, the Myanmar government have also expelled their own Muslim population from their country and have left them at the border between Bangladesh, and the world continues as if everything is fine. It's okay. The United Nations. But when it comes to Ukraine and Russia, number one issue. When it comes to other situations across the world, the United Nations.
Now, one of the families caught up in this are the Greenspans. Their son Herschel has been living in Paris and is distraught when he finds out what has happened to his family. On the morning of November 7th, he enters the German embassy and shoots Ernst von Rath, a diplomat and a member of the Nazi Party. The propaganda machine has a field day. Newspapers and the radio scream of a Jewish conspiracy and promise severe consequences for the remaining Jews in Germany. Rioting flares up across the country, but things are about to get much worse. Von Rath dies of his wounds on November 9th. Even before he died, he was being venerated as a martyr. His passing only adds to the narrative, sealing the fate of the Jews. That same night, Nazi Party are gathering to commemorate the 1923 Beer Hall Push. It is the most sacred event in the Nazi calendar. A comradely evening is held for the highest-ranking Nazi officials in Munich's Old Town Hall. Now, usually Hitler would stay late into the evening, but at around 9:30, he gets up and leaves. Goebbels then stands and addresses everyone assembled. He announces that the Fuhrer has approved a nationwide pogrom where Jewish businesses and synagogues are to be destroyed and burned. The police and fire departments are not to interfere. Once Goebbels is done talking, Gauleiters and SA regional chiefs rush to wherever they can find phones to forward the instructions. Everything is last minute and improvised, but the violence soon begins. Up and down the nation, synagogues are looted and burned, homes are broken into, and activists lead processions through the streets, roaring anti-Semitic slogans. Sadistic abuse often leads to death. In one instance in Mannheim, a woman is seized from her home and doused in ice-cold water, dying from exposure shortly after. Ritual humiliation also pierces communities. Jews are forced to stand in their night clothes and watch as their temples burn, and rabbis have their beards forcibly shaved. Tens of thousands of Jews are arrested on the pretext of protective custody and deported to concentration camps. Most will be eventually re-released in the coming days, but they face brutal treatment and particularly cruel guards having their fun by telling them that they will all soon die. The following day, Hitler and Goebbels meet for lunch. They are satisfied with the destruction that they have unleashed and decide that the Jewish people and not the insurance companies will pay for the damages. Official figures put the death count at 91, but this does not include the hundreds or maybe thousands of suicides and later deaths in concentration camps. The following weeks will see measures that remove any lingering hope for the German Jewish community. An act is passed ordering an atonement payment of 1 billion Reichmarks for the murder of von Rath, and all remaining Jewish businesses are Aryanized. Jews are excluded from cultural events, driving cars, and the first measures to introduce ghettos are taken. The rest of the population simply stood by while all this happened.
That's what I'm talking about, That's why I'm saying I wish the people of that time could have stood up against their government and said, no, this is not something I'm supporting. But like I said, the government of the day, they knew what buttons to press. They knew what knobs to twist, to control the perceptions of their people. And here we are.
Again, reports suggest that there is a great deal of disgust at the scale of violence. But the same reports also indicate that most Germans approve of the legal measures that the Nazis have been implementing since 1933. And in the weeks after Kristallnacht, when even more discriminatory laws are introduced, little protest follows. So the Nazi propaganda has worked. Germans may not like and may fear the violent excesses of anti-Semitism, but the Jewish community has been so successfully isolated from the rest of society that very few people are willing or able to help them. This will have fateful consequences for Europe's Jews. Kristallnacht has marked a turning point. Complete Aryanization is now inevitable, and Jewish emigration is booming. If it was not already clear, there is now no doubt that the Nazis are willing to unleash everything they have against the Jews to achieve their goals. At the moment, this goal is removal. But once the Nazis ignite a world conflict, the answers to the Jewish question will result in human tragedy and suffering on an unfathomable scale. If you would like to learn about the spectacular and cynically executed Berlin Olympics, then you can watch that episode right here, come up in just a minute. Our patron of the week is Dustin Carlton. It is because of people like Dustin that we can continue spreading knowledge about these dark but essential chapters of history. So please do the same and join us on Patreon. The link is in the description. And remember, never forget.
Okay, guys, yes, that's it with the road to the Holocaust, Kristallnacht, Between Two Wars, 1938, part 3 of 4 by TimeGhost History. Oh, yeah. The German government of that time, like I said, they made a slow burn, a slow cook on this situation. They didn't want to, have it explode in their faces. They didn't want the rest of the world to take notice of what's going on. They did everything as quietly as they could, making misdirections, washing their hands clean of what their people are doing on the streets. And then slowly but surely institutionalizing the disenfranchisement of the Jewish population in their country, and using the propaganda to also slowly twist and warp the perception of the people in Germany, and coming up with these laws about the descendants, whether they were Jewish or not, and how it would relate to you right now as a human being, and how it will affect the rest of your life essentially in the country, and slowly but surely the Jewish population in Germany and wherever else Germany conquered, slowly but surely their rights, their very being of existence is being taken away from them, and now they're being told that they are lesser than human beings, that they are subhuman. I forgot what the word I think it's Untermensch or something like that, you know, that they are just subhuman. They're these things that can't exist in their perfect Aryan world, Aryan race world. Like it's just, it's crazy. It's crazy, really. It's just unbelievable, sad, and this is definitely the type of history that we should never forget. It should be told and retold, not in a way to say that, okay, we're going to be hating on Germany now in the present. No. Just so that we don't go back to those times again. And it seems that, you know, in some pockets on the earth, there are still places that have these notions of calling other people subhuman, you know, or degrading women. You know, like last week when I was talking about Afghanistan and how they're using their religion as a tool to further curtail the rights of women in their country, how they're being kept as if they were pets by the men in that country. And like when I was talking about what's happening with Myanmar and its Islamic population, those who believe in the Islamic faith, you know, how they are also being pushed out of their country and they are being kept in no man's land between Bangladesh and Myanmar. And there are many other cases across the world where, you know, governments that are either voted in or they came in by military force, they are doing terrible things out there. And, you know, sometimes I wonder, you know, is the United Nations really something, an international body that humanity can depend on, you know, to protect human rights? I don't know. I honestly don't know. But I'm digressing, guys. Yeah, this was hard to listen to. This was really hard to listen to, but it is necessary. It is definitely necessary. Okay, guys, if you want to check out the original video as well as TimeGhost History's YouTube channel, the links are in the description below. If you like my reaction, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos. And I will see you guys next week. Okay? Bye-bye.